right, we're live finally. Thank you. Alrighty. What's up, Jun? We got Onrod, we got Carrie, Charlie, Jun, Left for Dead, Nikki, Chris. How's it going? How's everybody's Tuesday? Let me go ahead and log in. First thing I'm going to do is just determine how much my buy sizes are going to be this morning. So do 4 buys, 25.49. 25.49. Make sure that's on dollars. So I've got my turbo trader set up. Next step is going to be to build a watch list. Going well so far. That's good to hear, Charlie. You still got that snow hanging out? Did it all freeze yet? It's been cold as hell here. It's not fun. Now it's ice. Yeah, that's how it goes. You get the overnight and then it's just, oh, sorry, you wanted to move? No, that's not going to happen. Not today, scumbag. All right, so I kind of want to make this one a little bit more beginner friendly because it is a open live stream. And I did promise to teach the strategy that I love. So we're going to do that today. Still sitting. Oh, hey, alarm clock. How you doing, buddy? I got to work on how I mimic that. Sound like a dying goose. Still sitting fluffy and light, so it's Dune City with all the wind. Oh, I can imagine. I told you guys about last winter when I was living at the old property. There was a really, really bad ice storm, and then it froze, and then like 2 days went by, right? So the stuff underneath the top layer like melted and it created like an air gap. So if you walk outside on it, it would just crack and crumble and you'd fall through. That's like, but what happened is the wind picked up one night and it swept up underneath where that gap is and just picked up all these ice shards and hurled them across like just everywhere across my yard. It was crazy. It looked like wizards had a fight in my yard. It was insane. Like they were like just ice shards everywhere. Oh no, DNC. We got to figure out what's going on with your stuff, buddy. Let me get you that YouTube link. I know you can't hear me, but at least you can. Anyone? Any issues? Sorry to hear that, buddy. All right. Well, hopefully Dan's able to catch us on YouTube or one of the other platforms. Have you tried deleting your Discord? That's what I hear. All right, so let's get our watch list built out while we're sorting through that. So SRXH is one of our old classics. Not going to be latching onto this one. I'm going to add it to the watch list, but it's not going to be one of my favorites. It's got a decent volume to market cap ratio, but it is a 65-cent stock as well. So got to be mindful of that when you see that elevated volume because it just takes that much volume to move the price. And the market cap is going to be lower because the share price is less. So remember, market cap is float times share price. So we got 27.72 million free float, 66 cents market price. So that's going to give us that 8.44 million market cap. AMCI obviously goes on the list today. It just actually bounced up out of our zone from yesterday, which is pretty cool. So that's going to be pretty active today. CPAC is kind of meh. I'm not going to add that to the list. RZLV is one of our favorites. We like this one for those pullbacks. Actually, this one might be a really good one to show the strategy. I want to teach you guys. RILY, this is more of a structural break, but not a big fan of it. We'll see. VDRX, I love, like this one. It's got to get up though. I don't like it down here. VERO, kind of trash. Kind of trash. All right, so I think, let me add RILY as well. Just trying to think here. Maybe BDRX. Yeah, I think I already got that one, sorry. I don't know if I like CPAC or O'Reilly. John CPAC Riley. All right, you know what? I'm going to add RILY. I'm not going to trade it, but I'm just going to add it on the watch list. It has potential to get a bunch of volume, but It doesn't have it yet. We can see there is a ZR algo on it. So, all right, let's go through the strategy because we got about 6 minutes before the market opens. So, basically, what we've done so far is we've taken. Oh, you muted me. I see how it is. But that's the audio issue. Nice. Welcome back, dude. Welcome back. Thank you, Charlie. Thanks for helping him out. Hell yeah. He's back. All right. So what we've done so far is I've taken my portfolio amount, this is a small cash account, and just reset it back to 100. And I've divided up into some number of trades. In this case, I'm going to take 4 trades. So I've divided 101.99 by 4 to give me 25.49. And that's basically just the max allocation I'm going to put for each trade that I take, up to 4 trades. Now, yesterday, I was a dum-dum, and I hit Control-1, and I over-allocated my first trade. Now, it happened to be a profit, which is great, but it was a deviation, so I wrote that down, and that's for me to sort through. Sailor Brown, don't feel bad. I mute him all the time. Yeah, I know, buddy. How's your 80-degree weather there? Must be nice. All right, so we've built a watch list then. So the process for building a watch list is very simple. It's very straightforward. We just go to the tops gainers list. We set it to pre-market, and we sort by percent change. And then all I want to see is a volume that's greater than the market cap. Then I click on the chart, so SRXH, for example. And then I just want to see a relatively clean chart. I want to see something where the candles are contiguous. Maybe they bisect, but overall they just need to be kind of together, right? I don't want to see this stuff because you can't trade that. It's pointless. So this is not clean. This is clean because I can see where the price is moving. Okay. Now, I've done that, and I've chosen 5 stocks. Each of them have their own unique properties. But SRXH and AMCI are kind of the tried and true. So we got 4 minutes till market open, and then we're going to go through the strategy really quickly. So the strategy is very simple. It just takes a 20-period moving average, and I don't typically I don't use indicators, but I am teaching you guys a strategy. So we'll go back to yesterday's AMCI example. And basically, the first strategy involves plotting the ranges, which I'll walk you guys through in a little bit, but that's optional. The second part is basically just looking for 3 things, and it's very straightforward. The first thing is that we need a positive slope on the 20-period moving average, okay? Well, we need a clean chart first, right? But we already get that. So we got a positive slope on the 20-period moving average, and that just means that the trend is going in our favor so far, okay? Then we need a small red candle like this one. We need just a tiny red candle, and I'll explain why in a second. And then we need a color change. So we need the opening price, the top of the body of that small red candle to be broken to the upside, okay? And what that does is it gives us 2 points in time. The first point in time is when this candle opens, meaning that this candle started forming, and we don't know it's a red candle till it closes, so you have to wait at least a minute or 2 minutes or whatever time frame you're on. But once this is broken, that creates a second point in time. And then in between those 2 points in time, we just need to know the lowest the price went, because that gives us our risk range. And then that tells us whether or not we have an acceptable or unacceptable risk range. And then we just take an entry, and we can let the price run up all we want. And here's another example. It's kind of far away from the moving average because I'm zoomed in super far. But ideally, we just have them touching right here. Like, this is perfect. It's a perfect setup. Kind of a big risk range in my opinion, but I'm also zoomed in pretty far. So this is a 3.5% risk range. And in this case, it would have happened to have stopped out, but we wouldn't be selling down here. We'd sell right here, okay? And then we go below the moving average, and then ideally, we're waiting for the moving average to leave this box, right? So we can see if we just follow the moving average, we'll get an area where, we get all these little opportunities, and we don't need to trade every single one, but we just need little opportunities where we've got a positive slope, a small risk range, and then a disproportionately larger profit potential. And if you just go back and test this, you can see that the number one thing that we're doing for ourselves is making our losses as small as possible. and insignificant, and then we can take any size profit and have a good time overall. And remember, the goal is not to avoid losses, it's to manage them. So once we get good at that, trading becomes a lot less stressful. But when you start to take a loss and you shift into that denial mindset where you're just like, it'll come back, without justification, you're going to have a hard time and you're going to stress out. You're going to kind of live in that in between. I don't really like CPAC here. So let's just stick to these. All right, we got a little less than a minute. We got about 47 seconds till market open. So let's go ahead and just keep an eye on these into market open. And so we've got basically two opportunities, right? The first is just the box strategy, and that's when we can catch those breakouts. Now into the first like 5-10 minutes, I'm going to just trade the volume. But then after that, we've got the box strategy. And then after that, for secondary entries, for continuation and things, then we can use that moving average strategy. And that's what I'm teaching you guys. I went over it pretty detailed. Oh, here we go. Good little setup on that. In the premium stream yesterday, kind of combining the two. So today we're just going to focus on, I'm just going to trade, and that's going to be it. So, let me erase this. All right, market is open. I'm going to switch this over to the 1 day. I'm going to just kind of let things move around a little bit as the market's opening. And I'm just going to do my little shift there. All right, so now just going to see what's moving at market open and what can I trade. So I see this one, and I see RZLV was moving there a little bit, but AMCI is obviously getting a lot of the favor today. So I'm just keeping an eye on these percentages, basically seeing what's moving. I don't just want to jump into everything I see. I'm trying to track the patterns, right? Like this one here is pulling down. Okay, so I don't want to jump into that one. This one's kind of fluttering a little bit, but overall it's pulling down. There's going to be a lot of profit taking on this one too. We got to be very careful with something like that. It's not justified, and it has a history of these drastic sell-offs, so I don't want to get caught in that. Plus that one likes to halt. Kind of like BDRX, but it's got to get sustained volume. I kind of like it, but it's got to get some juice. And then the other one here, RZLV is pulling down. I think BDRX might be our favored child here. It's 11.5% candle. I don't want that to halt either. So I'm just going to let this candle resolve. And if I miss the move, that's okay. I don't need to catch every single cent. We'll have pullbacks. We'll have other opportunities. It's very important to develop the ability to just accept that things happen without us, in the market, in life, however you want to frame it. The world will continue turning and things will continue happening. That just halted. We're not the main character, so it's okay to just let stuff happen. All right, so now the BDRX is halted on kind of small volume. It's only 200K. That is likely to pour back over into AMCI or SRXH. So I'm going to grab a pretty risky entry here on AMCI. And I got my hotkeys ready to scale out. There's my 1.5% on that one. The reason I'm shooting for this, I should have entered down here off the moving average, but that's okay. I'm just looking for a quick little wick break there. Now, I'd like to trade this up into this box, but I don't control whether or not it goes there. It's got the setup. It's got potential. It's got the volume so far, but I don't want to be super risky biscuits about it because there's also a lot of accumulation up here. And I've expanded my risk range by taking a higher entry than I would have liked. So I traded it based on the breakout over this pivot right here. So kind of risky. RZLV is kind of hovering a little bit, so this one might also be getting ready to change a little bit. SRXH is just chilling. So I'm waiting for that one or RZLV to push next, but they might also just move down, and that's okay. I'm just letting the market kind of do what it wants to do. All right, we're about 7% up on this one. I'm going to go ahead and lock some of those profits right there, about 7.5% on AMCI. And from here, I mean, we're probably going to halt again. The stock loves the halt. I've locked most of my shares. I'm about 10% up. That's halted. So now I can just let that remainder determine whether or not it wants to break through this box. If it does, I can always add some more. If it doesn't, I can always just get out. And if I do have to take a hit on that one share, it's not going to be that drastic because I've already locked most of my shares. And overall, I'm already up 2.14% for the day. So I've exceeded my goal of 1.5% on my first trade. So I can walk away for the day with the rest of my time and the rest of my settled cash. I got 75% of my cash settled. And I've pretty much accomplished my goal for the day. So my goal is to trade so I can trade less, and that's exactly what I've done. But since I'm on a live stream, I'm going to show you guys a little bit more, and we'll go a little further today. But if you're just trading on your own, if I'm just trading on my own and I just landed like a whatever 10% profit on my first trade, there's no need to keep going. And that's what hurts people, is they just feel like, oh, I got settled cash, I have to use it. And that's what hurts us. So don't do that to yourself. It's not fun. You don't want to become a slave to the market. Ooh, I'm going to grab some AZI right here as well. A little bit of a risky entry on this one, but I do like it. The moving average is starting to curl up. We got a color change. Again, I got a slightly higher entry than I like. And this is a deeper retrace than I like, but it is a solid setup, and I see that the order book is stacked nicely for a pretty sizable move in either direction, and I just need it to go up. So while that's cooking, I'm going to come over here because SRH, I'm just going to turn off the moving average as well. Oh, no, I'll leave it on just for you guys. But that'll kind of be my goal zone right there on this one. All right, AZI is up 5%. I'm going to go ahead and lock 75%. Ooh, if I can. If I can get filled on that one. That's usually how it goes. Actually, I'm going to cancel that because I see something in the volume. I'm going to shoot for a slightly higher profit on that one. If it wants to go up, that's great. If not, this is one I'd be willing to add some cash to. But I see something nice on the order book. We got multiple zone recovery algos, and I like that volume on the time and sales. So we'll see if that one gets the next shred of volume. Otherwise, again, we can always cut this. We're up 2.5%. That is good enough. I'm personally shooting for a higher target. I don't want everyone to feel like they have to do that on all their trades. Let me be the cautionary tale. Sorry, let me catch up on the chat here. Deathka, how you doing, buddy? If you're green your first trade, that's my excuse to trade more. Wiggle room to lose some. And that is counterintuitive. Because we feel like that gives us house money, right? And that's a term that I hate. If I'm at the casino, like my buddies and I, when I lived in Oklahoma, we used to go to the casino like once a month or so, or maybe every other week. And we just bring like a couple hundred or a couple $1,000, nothing major. And then within an hour, they would all be hitting me up for money. Like, hey, can I borrow some? Can you spot me? And the answer was always no. I would go take everybody out for dinner. I would always go take them to a movie or something, but I'd never just give them more cash because I know that they didn't go there to have fun. They went there to gamble and to make money, and that is dangerous. So there's a reason I always walked away with money from the casino, and they always walked away asking me for money. And that was just my ability to walk away, you know, and to manage the money that I had. So once I make my initial money back, I pull that out. There we go. We're about 7% up on AZI. You know, and that's, you got to just learn how to accept good enough is good enough and not shoot for the stars every single time. All right, about 6.5% up. We hit 7.5% up on AZI. I don't really like what it's doing here, so I might cut this one if it pops again. Might just take some of those profits and move on. What is AMCI's unhalt time? All right, so we got about 20 seconds left on this one. So for anyone who doesn't know, the time in sales tells you exactly when the last order filled. So in this case, it was 9:34:10. So 9:34 in the morning and then 10 seconds. So 5 minutes after that, 9:39:10 is going to be the unhalt time. And if it doesn't unhalt after that first 5 minutes, you have another 5-minute wait. So in this case, we unhalted at 14:37. So I'm going to let a little bit of a pullback happen. And then I'm going to go ahead and grab some more right here. It's a little bit risky. Got my hotkeys ready. Now that just halted to the downside. Oh, well, that's okay. Net profitable so far in that one. All right, AZI is getting ready. It's doing a little push-pull-push situation here. Let's see if it wants to just push over 230. So now AMCI is halted again. So we know that at 9:44:37, that should unhalt. Sorry, let me catch up on the chat here again. That used to be me. Yeah, absolutely. That's how we are as humans. June, hit my 1% on AZI and Vero, and I'm done for the day. Beautiful, dude. 10% to make, 10 minutes to make 1%. Beautiful stuff, dude. That's it. Just get in, get out. All right, I got a little pullback here on AZI. Now I still have one more buy, and this one I'm okay to add a little bit to if I have to, but I don't want a huge amount of drawdown on it. And remember, drawdown is always a choice. We could always just cut that right there. Super small loss, right? We don't have to worry about anything down here. We can always get back in later if we want to, but I'm choosing to hold. So don't just copy me, okay? Because you guys see me do these, and sometimes they go against me pretty hard. So I don't want you guys to hurt yourselves. Death Gun, hey Pookie, I'm doing all right. Got my debt situation with school almost figured out. That's awesome, dude. We'll be working 32 hours a week next semester. Also going to fail 3 out of my 5 classes. Damn, dude. Well, I'm glad you at least got your financial situation squared away. That's debt is always the double-edged sword, especially in this country. So hopefully they were willing to work with you on that stuff. So what's causing you to fail 3 out of 5? Is it just your ability to focus and get your stuff done? Yeah, affordability is a hoax. Yeah, kind of. All right, got a nice little chop on that one. Let's see if we can get some more on AZI. The ask is still stacked up nicely. Just a matter of when that volume is going to kind of kick on and the volume machine. We also have 9:44:37. We got about 3 minutes left on AMCI. So let's see if AZI wants to blast before then. Let me just switch this over here. 230. Sorry, let me just. We're going to kick it over to the baseline here real fast. I'll turn the moving average off for this one because I don't need it. And that's kind of where I want that to be. All right. So we'll see if that one wants to rally up and hit my target. Target. Death Gun says, oh, they weren't. My mom's bailing me out. Okay, well, that's good that you have that resource, you know. Just didn't do any of the work, lack of focus, motivation, direction. I don't really want anything, so I didn't really do anything. Okay. Well, that's something we can dig into. I know you said you played a lot of games, and those are fun. Was it your choice to go to college, or do you feel like you're just pressured by family and stuff? You don't have to answer any of that here if you don't want to. It's just if you're feeling up to it. I saw a lot of that in the military. When I was in the Army, I saw a lot of kids that just didn't want to be there. But their father, their grandfather, their mother, their grandmother, they were in the service or they were in the Marines and they got to live up to them and all that. So they felt pressured, and then they ended up joining. And then perspective kind of hits when you're in a hostile environment. You're getting screamed at and all your stuff's getting messed with every day. So kind of helps you figure out what you want, what you don't want. All right, going to kind of zoom it in a little bit here, or zoom out, sorry, on AZI. This is the tick chart on the baseline, just for anyone who doesn't know. This is just, I'm looking at the volume specifically, and it's looking pretty healthy. So let me just switch back over here, go to the 2 minute. We're about to unhalt here in about 9 seconds, 8 seconds. Got my hotkeys ready. So I have 2 shares here, so $26 position. So effectively a quarter of the portfolio. We opened up at 12.27. So we're down here a little bit. My stupid chart is not updating. There we go. Oh, I got to turn the moving average back on for you guys. All right, now I'm not going to be adding any more to this one. So I'm just going to let it pump, and then if I have to take a hit on it, I take a hit. But it should be going to the upside. I see a lot of ask activity here. So, but we don't control that. Let me catch up on the chat as well. Sorry, it's hard to like move my eyes over here and then over there. But I don't want to leave you guys hanging. Sorry, guys. Hey, forgive me for invading. My wife is in college admin, previous assistant registrar. If you tried to withdraw or withdraw fail instead, there are some workarounds for some of the financial burden of a screwed up semester. Yeah, absolutely. You just chalk it up to a short-term loss. It's a good idea, Charlie. Thanks for helping. All right. This one here is compressing a little bit. Should be getting some release to the upside. In theory, we got a nice tight stack here for chain fill. And then potentially up into another chain fill. If it breaks over 230, we might hit 250. But it's got to go, right? These both just have to push up. I don't want them hanging out sideways and doing all their weirdness. It's just a matter of when that volume kicks in on this one. The setup is there. It's primed. It just needs that delicious volume. And I'd like the volume to kick in above this body here. So I want it to occur within this wick, basically. So if we don't break over that wick, we're not going anywhere. Oh, nowhere good, I should say. Okay, Death Gun says, didn't hear a few of the questions, but college was like it was my big like life goal. Now that it's here, I don't really care for anything past it. Family was always big on me going into engineering, but I went software game dev related. Nothing really drives me. And I seem to only really be human working at a movie theater. I don't even know what to do anymore. All right, well, in that case, I mean, it seems like you're maybe direction, right? You got to find some direction, some purpose, something beyond the task in front of you, There's stimulus in life, and that's all fun. And this is something we run into in the trading world, is once you figure out, how to survive and all your needs are met and you're no longer just in survival mode, what do you do? First thing people do is they make sure they're financially secure. You pay off your house, you buy a car, you take care of your loved ones, all that stuff. And then what, right? Then you chase stimulus. You look for fun stuff. You get new gaming consoles. You get a fun car. You go try new activities. You develop new hobbies and put them down every 5 seconds. Maybe you try substances. Everyone's different. A lot of people like to travel, but after a while that gets old. What are you going to do when those are no longer fulfilling, right? And that's where it gets a little bit philosophical, right? And if you don't have a plan for when you're at that point, and I'm not saying you're at that point because you're successful, I'm just saying that it's the same obstacle you're going to run into down the road. It ultimately boils down to, in my experience, just some life of service. You have to find something meaningful outside of your own perspective, you know. And I'm not saying that that's what you're focused on as your own perspective. I'm just saying that's where we tend to land as humans, you know. You focused on achieving your goal and you are now in college. So what next? You know, you want to get into software and game development. So what kind of things would you like to accomplish? Not what kind of games would you like to make? What would you like to accomplish with your games? Are you interested in the graphic design or just the game mechanics or the deployment process for games? Hardware interfacing? What's your thing? Like, what really appeals to you about that? Oh, your school's being a hard ass about that? That sucks, man. Well, if you're failing 3 out of your 5 classes, it means you're at least passing 2. You know, not to be toxic positive here, but oh, this is a beautiful pickup off that moving average if that wants to go. I would love to see just both of these absolutely pop. AZI definitely just needs to get over this wick, this box right here. This I'll make it a yellow box. That's going to be kind of our depot, right? It's got to get blown up and then up into the sky. All right. Also, while that's going, let me just check something real fast. All right. Easy Eye's getting a little bit of a push off the moving average over the red candle. So this would be, ordinarily this would be a good entry, but this wick right here provides a sizable risk range. So we would pass on that one in most cases. That's a 5% candle, 5% wick or risk range, sorry. You have Arizona? Nice. I love it. Oh, you got the good weather too then. I'm done helping this guy. I'm just kidding. Everyone treat him different. We're just jealous because I live up in New York and we're cold. All right, we're kind of plateauing up here on AZI. We got our heartbeat. We got a high stall. This should be releasing any moment. If it can just get a little extra volume there, that should pop over that wick and then through the box and then up to 230 and then potentially 250 once we clear 230. So that's kind of the plan for that one. Whether or not that happens is not up to me. It is entirely up to circumstance. And we'll see where it goes. But this is the area that's kind of make or break right here. So let me just draw another box. It's going to be like right there. So we pass through that, we should be off to the races. Now we should see a pretty sizable pop once it clears that, in theory. Now when things start doing the opposite of what should happen, that's when we can tell that someone is kind of trying to influence things in the market. There's usually a larger institution sitting on things and their algos kind of suppress the price, and then that's when we know to get out. But as long as we pop over this box and we see a pretty sizable buy up, we should be good. Should be 220 up to 225. So we should see, like, I don't want to say one big candle here, but we should see a pretty sizable candle, maybe up to like 220-ish. All right, so we're doing a heartbeat again. There's the high stall. It definitely wants to go. I'm just zooming in to make it super cinematic. There's a high stall again. You guys see how it's like ramming up into the top of that candle there? All right, now we're challenging the actual high. There we go. We popped over, so we should see our good clean pop to the upside here pretty soon. So this is typically where I'd add another small piece. There's another high plateau. So in theory, we should have no problems getting through this box and then rallying up to 230. So I'm just going to zoom out. I can just kind of watch that happen from afar. I'm going to erase this little, whoops. I'm going to erase this box right here because we no longer need it. And we'll see if we can get our rally here. Or if it's going to be funky. Sorry, let me catch up on the chat here. Checked with the school and there aren't any payment plans, deferments, exceptions. Otherwise, if I don't have a past due balance of $0, I ain't a student this spring. Mom's going to take out of her 401k and I'll pay what I can out of my next paycheck, plus current savings, and I'll just pay her back whenever I get my tax refund. Interesting. I would also, I don't know if your mom has a CPA, but I would talk to them depending on the dollar amounts, because the student loans element of it may give her a nice kickback at tax time. Or you, depending on whose name it is. And then that'll help that refund, potentially anyway. 32 hours a week next semester should cover the $6K it'll cost to live on campus. Hopefully. I don't know what your tax situation's like in Arizona, but I know in New York that'd be like 2 or 3 months worth of rent for $6K. Just rent, no utilities, no food. Yeah, that's a good idea, Fergie. Well, assuming it gets paid off, I'd rather pay a penalty, honestly, if I wasn't sure if something would get paid off, because then you get the interest anyway. That's just a numbers game at that point. I mean, credit union, yeah, as long as it's secured. I think it's university housing. There's a huge difference in taxes. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I would have a discussion with a CPA personally. Not sure I have the brain commitment for postgrad. That's understandable. Yeah, postgrad, you typically have to, that's more of a, either you want a really big paycheck or you are just passionate about your subject. If you're kind of on the fence about what you want to do in life, postgrad is, well, depending on the what you're going for anyway, that tends to be a pretty big commitment. All right, AMCI is starting to get some juice here again off the moving average. So is AZI. So let's see if these can rally or if they're just going to get rejected. AMCI is positive again. And remember, this one, I want to get through this blue box. So if we can do that, we're in good shape. But I kind of don't like the volume slowdown on all these. So let's see what they give us. But I also don't want to get stuck in another potential halt if this one just starts to rip, So I got to focus on this one first. Passion, if only I had some. Well, I'll tell you, it's a lot like money. It comes and goes. It doesn't make you a bad person or a hollow person if you don't have a clear passion. It just means you're leaving yourself open for whatever might come, Yeah, exactly. The doctor. If you're going to school for finding the passion, don't spend the money to figure that out, in my opinion. Absolutely, dude. Spot on. And you've gone through medical school, and you're, what are you, residency second year? I think I always ask this. No, you're done with your residency. You're working on horses and stuff. But you've been through it, though, is what I'm getting at. Only going in engineering or game dev. Okay. What kind of engineering? Mechanical or nuclear? Yeah, you're crushing it with that business, man. Just don't really care for either. Okay. Well, again, what would you like to accomplish while you're here on this planet? I mean, it's going to be different for everybody. You don't have to know it, but you at least have to ask yourself the question. You like playing games? Would it make more sense to be a tester? And then maybe go on the engineer route? I will tell you right now, all the engineers that I know have a lot of quirks. They're They're not typically social butterflies. No offense to any engineers in here, but if you're here, hopefully you can kind of back up what I'm saying. Like engineers and surgeons just kind of have some... No, I love you guys. Hopefully you know what I'm saying, though. No, I don't want to offend the engineers. We need them. They're good for us to have. I'm not saying like you're social outcasts or anything. I'm just saying there's some quirks. Introverts, yeah. That's all. So you typically don't want to become an engineer for the communal aspect. Yeah. Surgeons, yeah, large egos, dude. The wife is telling me some horror stories, especially with like denial of pain meds and things like that. It gets pretty insane. Thank you, Katie. I'm trying. Easy eyes coiling a little lower than 1 minute. Yes, sir. We're chilling. I want to see a break of this box. Just a clean blast up to 230, 250. That'd be nice. MCI is getting some... It's seeing some friction here, but it's getting the pickup I'm looking for so far. What I miss? We're offending the engineers. Yeah. Send them in. All right. MCI is getting a little push. Little tiny push. So I think one of these is about to rip here pretty hard. I just want them to rip to the upside, not the downside. And you can see like this whole list right here has slowed down tremendously. BDRX just got a little bounce, but it's still under the box. CPAC is just a little bounce. Like there's nothing strong happening right now. SRXH is below the box. So overall, there's an ebb in volume in these small caps. So once the volume surges back in, we're sitting pretty, or at least I am. Again, please don't just copy me. But once the volume surges back in, these have a lot of potential to just ram to the upside. And I don't want to ride a prolonged trend here. I'm just looking for that pop. So once I get a pop, I'm just going to lock my profits and move on. And I'm still around my 1.5 to 1% for the day. So even if I get a little drawdown, it's okay. I'm not going to take huge losses for the day. Now that I've said that out loud, these are going to sell off 20% in the halt, but that's the name of the game when you live stream. So you can see the only other one here that's really seeing some action so far is AMCI. Now the challenge here is it's a $13 stock, so it's going to require more, dollars and cents move for it to matter, but it is moving so far, and we've already locked a profit of 93 cents overall in that one so far. And that's only because I was able to get one share and not two. I stayed up all night playing video games. I don't know if I'm going to achieve anything this time around. Well, boy, do I have news for you. That is okay. It can all change. Do you go for walks or anything? There's a nice little pop. Do you go for walks or anything like that? Do you have a routine? Or is it just kind of stay awake until you're too tired to stay awake and then fall asleep? And again, if anything here is not something you want to answer on a stream, there's no pressure. I just like it. I want to see you succeed, and I know we've talked quite a bit, so I want to make sure that you're, the market's fun and all, but you guys are people. Like I gotta make sure you're squared away first. All right, there's 9%. I'm going to go ahead and lock 75% before that halts. So got in by the skin of my teeth on that one. That's another 9.5% on AMCI. And then we just come back over here. So this is halted, so there's nothing we can do for at least another 5 minutes. So I'm not going to sit there and stare at it. We'll stare at this one. It's much slower. Stay awake until I pass out. Don't feel like getting off the game. Still, I'm too tired to keep my eyelids up. Buddy, you're explaining my teenage years. So let me ask you a question. And again, if it's not fun to answer it, don't feel like you have to. But that is that is a pretty classic symptom of just straight up clinical depression and stuff. And it's not saying you're sad or anything like that. It's just that tends to be what happens to us as humans, as an organism, when we don't have purpose, when we don't have a passion to pursue, and we're just kind of going through the motions and kind of bouncing off the walls until, we fall into a category, right? So if it's a game that you like, and it's a game that you enjoy, and it's a game that's giving you stimulus, it makes sense that that's where you're going to find yourself spending your time, because it's giving you that dopamine, right? Your brain wants dopamine. You prescribe 2 antidepressants, it would help to take them both. Well, is there a reason you're not? Are you having like a reaction to the meds, or you just kind of can't drive yourself to do it? And keep in mind here, I'm just a guy on Discord. I don't have your full clinical picture. I'm not a doctor. I don't pretend to be. I'm just asking you some questions. And you can put an end to that at any time. I just give a shit. I don't want you to just kind of drift through life, because that was me for a very long time, and it doesn't feel good. I'm not saying you have to sit there and watch the clock and be like, oh, I'm wasting time on this planet and, wasting heartbeats and stuff, because that doesn't do anything. But yeah, Dancy, you're not alone, dude. There's I think there's more people statistically on this planet that are, have depression now than ever before. And that's including the 1920s and early 1900s, I would imagine. And that's because we have a completely different landscape right now. But there's one universal thing, and that is when you tend to stay awake until you can't keep your eyes open anymore. That's just because the priority of dopamine has taken control of your day, and the regiment takes a backseat. We tend to stay awake, and then we just fall asleep and wake up whenever, because we stop caring. A lot of times we stop showering and taking care of ourselves. We stop, caring about our environment. We stop caring about schoolwork. We stop caring about showing up to work on time. And it just becomes a very difficult cycle to break until we find one small achievable thing that we can just do without thinking about it. Because when we think about stuff, we talk ourselves out of it, right? So developing the ability to just execute without thinking and without giving yourself a reason to have to do it, that goes a long way. And that becomes a challenge that you can embrace as well. The only thing you don't like about the side effects is the acne. That's tolerable in the big picture. Just don't remember to take them both. Or the times I sleep or wake are weird for taking them. Yeah, for sure. And they kind of go hand in hand, right? It's a self-correcting set of things that offset. Right? It's like if you do one, like if you focus on A, B will take care of itself. If you focus on B, A will take care of itself. So it's kind of one of those weird little gaps that we fall into. So if that's the case, again, I'm a guy in Discord, you're a guy in Discord. I don't want you to talk too much about your personal stuff, just in case there's some other weirdos out there. I'm just kidding. I love you guys. But it's your personal stuff. So I think it's worth having that talk, with whoever prescribed you those meds. If you're worried about acne, for example, or if you want something to help regulate your sleep, that's an option as well. But if it's something simple, like just checking in with you and setting a reminder, be like, hey, buddy, did you take your meds yet? I can absolutely help with that. I harass Snowflake all the time. Putting Snowflake on blast here. He's not here right now. He didn't take his meds. He's hiding. He's scared. He knows. Oh, what's up, Jack? But at the end of the day, we're all people. Like I genuinely give a shit. I don't care about your portfolio if you're not doing well on the outside of the market. So we got to make sure that we're secure outside the market first. Then all the stock stuff can happen. So I appreciate you sharing all this. I know it's not fun to talk about stuff, but I know you also have some schedule issues, and that makes it difficult for you to trade. And that's kind of discouraging. But the market is a game. You like games. You can embrace the challenge of figuring out how all this stuff works. AMCI is open. And the market is kind of insane once you figure that out. All right, we're getting push here on AMCI. I think I'm going to do just a super quick scalp on this one if it gets out of this box. Actually, right there, I'm going to grab some, and then pretty much just going to cut it if it breaks below the candle low here. So I'm just shooting for a quick, like 2%. There we go. So I'm locking most of the position there. And I'm not going to hold it. I'm out. I don't want to hold it any longer. So I got it right there. If it wants to go farther down, it can. I don't care. If it wants to go farther up, it can. I don't care. I'm out of it. That's all I want. I just don't like what it's doing there. So it may very well just slingshot all the way up to like $20. I just don't care. I'm going to focus back over here on AZI though, because that is selling down and I don't want to give my profits back for the day too much. So we'll see if we get a buy up on this one. Probably not likely. My mouse is annoying because it keeps, like, every time I zoom out, it zooms back in a little bit because the wheel's a little bit jacked up. So it looks like I might be roughly break even today if this one doesn't get bought back up. But it is very ask heavy. That's nice. So that should pop back up. But we'll see. Let me catch up on the chat. Defgun, I pulled out of the market. I'm not going to participate anymore. Just reminded me to empty my long term too. Okay, that's fair too. I mean, if you don't want the extra distractions, and especially if you need money, like it makes sense to not keep running into that wall. Yeah, go to Psych. The Nikki has her stream tonight, I think. Just get the dust off the mouse ball. No, it's the scroll wheel. It's a gaming mouse, but it's got some issues. Yeah, pretty much. A little the boiled egg yolk. Yeah, Junjun. That's the family we choose. Jay. Yeah, if Breck was there, the Psych stream has the opposite effect. Have you tried the keyboard and crack slimy type stuff? I don't know what that means, and I'm scared. Oh, you mean like the goop that you put on your keyboard and then it peels off all the stuff? If so, then no, I haven't. No, it's the physical scrolling of the wheel itself, the mouse wheel. The thing on top of the mouse, the actual scroll wheel. It's delicious. Try it. Maybe I'll make some for Christmas. I'll bring a plate or a bowl. Can it go on a plate, or does it have to be? Do I have to keep it chilled? How does it work? Can I sprinkle cinnamon on it? Spice it up. Yeah, some nutmeg. A little bit of rosemary. I don't think that goes very well with cinnamon and nutmeg. There it is. Can I put it in little Jello cups? Do some Jello shots. All right, so we're looking for AZI to get back over $2. That'd be nice, but we'll see if it wants to get up there. We were unable to push over our yellow box earlier. So I'm just going to make that $2 level big, fat, and orange just so we know it's a whole dollar. Remember, we were looking for a push over this box here and we didn't get it. So instead, we got a pull down. So the price is just kind of hanging out in this range, which tells me there's somebody up here that wants to control the price in this range right here. Right? It's pretty straightforward. They want the price to hang out in here until the volume is strong enough to break one direction or the other. And I don't want to fight. I want to fight against someone bigger than myself. So I'm going to let them figure all that out. Sorry about all the throat clearing. Oh, I don't want to add any more here. I do still have $24 in settled cash. So now I'm not going to add any more to this one just yet. I'd like to see it at least 10% down or more. So if we come down here, I might grab some for a sweep, but probably not. We'll see. Oh, chase it with salt. Okay. That's good. Do I have to use the back of my hand? Or can I apply the salt in a variety of manner? Put it wherever you need it to be, okay? That's the answer I was looking for. How's AMCI doing? Looks like it pulled down a little bit. Yeah, we're still chilling. Just kind of hanging out in the box. Interesting. SRXH is below the line. BDRX is below. RZLV is garbage. RLY is garbage. So I promise it's not coincidence that we happen to find the active tickers and then we pick the 2 or 3 in between that have the highest potential when we do these streams. I cannot go on. Everyone else would hate us. Well, yeah, I don't think anyone could hate you, Charlie. Yeah, especially the people that were with us in Chicago. That was fun. I can't wait to go back. Not to Chicago, but next time we're going to Nashville. CGC, yeah, we like that one. It's the spot volume for sure. Is that moving today? That was yesterday. I know it was had a little. Oh wow, look at that. Oh yeah, that's beautiful. Look at that. So that right there is perfect. Now it's a little bit high up in the range though. So this would be kind of a small position anticipatory entry with a super tight stop for a potential break over this area here up to $2. Now I'm not going to touch that one, but that would be the setup if we were feeling froggy about it. So basically just waiting to see which way this one wants to go. Now this is a perfect example for the the retest strategy. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. AZI is about to approach $2 again. We're at 198. So let's see if we can get a clean pop over 2 or if it's going to reject Reno like it did back here. So we'll see. TP 2026 is in Nashville. Yes, sir. We're looking at 2 specific hotels, but we're shooting for 1. But I don't have any details that I can really release other than it's going to be, I think, 3 event days. I think it's the, Nikki, help me out. What is it, the 11th or 13th? I don't know. I don't want to put too much information out there because if something happens with the contract, for example, then, I don't want to let you guys down. Or I also don't want anyone to anticipate and like buy your plane tickets early and then have something change, because that's not fair to you guys. So as soon as I know and as soon as it's locked in, you guys will have a hard time shutting me up about it and you'll have all the info. But until then, it would be a disservice, I think, to put that info in front of you guys. Just know that I am super excited. It is going to be in Nashville, even if we got to do it at a Motel 6. And we'll go from there. It's a secret. Yeah. But I will also say this one's going to be awesome. These can only get better over time. I mean, to a point, and then we're going to plateau a little bit. Just kidding. The last one wasn't awesome. Well, I had a good time, but I'll tell you, I think the best, in my experience, the best parts of it were not in the room. A lot of it was after the event or outside the event, just chilling. Like you and I had our conversation. That was something you cannot put a label on. Like that wasn't, and that was you. Like, that wasn't anything that we scheduled or wasn't a lecture with a slideshow or any of that stuff. Those are great. They're fun. I had a good time talking to you guys, but there was a good balance there, I think. Florida was better. You're just saying that because there's a pool. Yeah, I like Florida. I would be okay to just have it in Florida every year, but not that hotel. That hotel was nice, but it was a little too nice, I think. Florida's way too hot. No, Tammy, no. I mean, it was a little toasty, but let's go outside at nighttime. The year prior, when it was just staff, we went to a different hotel. That was awesome. Like, the weather was perfect the entire time. We got to follow Lee around Disney. Man walks fast when he's on a mission and he's in his home territory of Disney. I think he might have been drinking. But no, it was pretty good. We're just seeing these very tall English fella was walking around with Mickey Mouse ears. All right, I'm back to my 2% up, so I could always just cut this and walk away here if I want to. Just kind of keeping that on the radar. Not everyone knows, but one funny thing that happened this year was I yelled as loud as I can in the hotel lobby and everyone stopped for 1 second. The lobby was a scene. Yeah, exactly. Just barreling through a crowd. Gotcha. Throwing elbows. Ooh, here we go. Matt says, if Pookie approves me giving out the method in this chat, I will let you guys know my method and how I went from 500 down. Is that negative 500 pounds or just 500 pounds? On trading 212 to having a P&L of $982 in 1 month. Method posted in this chat, free for everyone here. Yeah, let's dig in. What a negative? Okay. I'm always down to talk strategy. That's good stuff. I like the small, consistent nature of those profits. That's what I strive for when I try to teach you guys stuff. We don't need 80% profits on every trade. Speaking of which, if this one doesn't move here soon, so we're set up for a chain fill, but if we don't get that up to at least 206, I don't see volume coming in on this one, and I don't want to hang out if it goes back below 2. So I'm just going to put a hard stop here below 2 on AZI. And if we can't hold the $2 level, I'm getting out and walking away. So I'm net positive for the day. I don't want to commit a whole bunch of time. Remember, I took that first trade. I hit the same 2%. I was in and out pretty easily. And then we just kept trading because I'm on a stream and I wanted to show you guys more opportunities. But if I wasn't, like if it was a Wednesday or Thursday when I don't stream here, which I will be streaming this Wednesday, tomorrow. But if I wasn't streaming, I would just be done. Because my goal isn't to be a slave to the market. This is not a lifestyle. This is just a little side thing that I do. Actually, I'm just going to cut this here. I'm out. All done. I just don't even want it approaching the $2 level. So I took a loss on this trade, AZI, and then I offset it pretty easily with AMCI across a series of trades. So we're net positive 1.77% for the day. So let me go ahead and update my small account tracker. What was that number? I'm so bad at this. 103.80. I have no short-term memory. 103.80. All right. So 2 days so far in this. What is this saying? 1.99%. Let me just move that. Looks like, oh, I know why. Because on the old sheet, I had a number that I had to manually overwrite for the percentage. So 2 days so far. 2 days I hit my 1.5% goal. Since we restarted this account, I just trimmed it back down to 100 because, again, I was having a really good conversation with one of the members, and they had to take out all their money for Christmas stuff, and they didn't want to be left behind. So I'm just trimming this account back down. We're going to build it up step by step, day by day, and we'll just go from there, and we'll just do it again. Last time we got up to like 500, I think 518, something like that, in a pretty short amount of time here with contributions. So I could just do the same thing again. And so far, we're off to a good start. So let me close that. And yes, let me just see. Oh, you know what? Let me see something real quick. Yes. All right. If you guys want to, I could do like one more super fast scalp. 24 to 35 or something, which is just a super quick one. So this is how I'm just going to hunt for scalps. That's garbage. All right, so I'm going to switch over to the baseline and ticks. And I'm just going to kind of, I'm just going to trade my way. And we'll see where it goes. All right, there's a little plateau. I'm going to wait on that one. Okay. Also going to turn this moving average off because you can see it's just a 1-for-1 match. There's no point in using a moving average on the tick chart. We're not a bunch of silly billies in here. That should be shooting for 90 cents. Don't want to do a 6-cent trade. That one broke over 14. So I'm looking just really quick. I'm not going to like elaborate too much here, but I'm just looking for a specific pattern on these. MCI definitely has it. VMAR is kind of still consolidating a little bit. It's getting ready. There's a pretty tight cluster here, so I'm going to go ahead and... Ooh, I can't do that. Oh, no. Oh, because it would... Okay, it'd be $86 that I'd need. Oh, well, I guess you can't trade that on this account. That's okay. But anyway, that'd be good for a quick scalp. All right, I guess AMCI it is. Looks like RZLV there. So this is kind of how I trade when I'm not like showing you guys stuff and walking through stuff. This is a tick chart and the baseline. So basically the baseline is just, it draws a line halfway through the chart, and then you just find your preferred level that you want to watch and you just put it right on that level. And then you can kind of see the plus minus, but the main advantage to being on a tick chart is that the volume is per order. So every order that's matched has a buyer and a seller, and a volume is the result of that. So I like to see the volume and the specific price points and the trends, and there's specific patterns we can look for within the tick chart that indicate potential for bigger moves. So in this case, it should be pulling down. We're a little stacked here on the bid, and I don't like that so much. Yeah, Fergie, this is 1 tick. So I'm looking at a 1 tick match on the volume. So we're getting ready though. 1375, there we go. Grab my piece here. So I got a slightly higher fill on that one, but that's okay. And this is my last trade for the day, and then I'm all done. Just looking for a quick little, there's 4%. I can't sell my shares. That's awkward. I might have just messed up, boys. I wonder why it wouldn't let me sell. Oh, because okay. Well, I only got the 1 share anyway. That's okay. I'll have like $10 settled cash or something. That's okay. I'll just control 3 and sell this one when it's time. So now I can just set this right there. And then I've got my 25 cents to the upside, like 50 cents or 40 cents to the downside for my viewport. And then I can just watch the price move up and down. There's 1.5%. Oops, I might have missed my window on that one. That's okay. Let me catch up on the chat here. I can't drag to a level on the baseline tick chart like you did. Oh, you have to, if you click and move the axis up or down, it'll unlock it. You can also just uncheck this auto down here, and then you should be able to move it up and down. Well, thank you for Charlie. Wow. I was looking at Fergie's name and I was talking. So. Sometimes it does that. Also, I like VMAR here. Now, I couldn't trade this one. It was below $1. But let me just kick back over here. And I'll go back to the 2-minute here. That's the move I was trying to catch. A good piece of that would have been nice, but that's okay. So AMCI is just kind of chilling in this box. Again, I'm not going to do too much walking through at this point. I'm just looking to sell this one share and just get out. But everything I saw so far on the order book, the tick chart, and the volume profile so far indicates we should see a nice little pop to the upside. Now, whether or not that happens is up to the person that is causing these big red candles in this area. So don't want to see another one of those. Matt, so first thing I did was change trading platforms to an actual broker platform like Trading212. I find stable stocks to avoid the volatile stuff. I will then buy 10 shares through buy bid. If these fill instantly, then sell them via sell ask. Again, if this goes through instantly, it's a good sign. This will normally net about 5 to 10 cent profit per sell. I will then up the shares I buy and sell the max you can do. Depends on the stock. Some will buy and sell 50 shares instantly. Some won't even do 10, but I go up in tens. So if 10 buys and sells, I will then do 20, which nets about 10 to 20 cents per sell. Doing this over the last month, I've taken $150 to over $1,000. That's awesome. So what you're doing is you're trading the bid ask. You're trading a form of liquidity, which is good. And that's kind of what I do here. It's just I let it run over wider ranges. So basically you're buying the bid and selling the ask. So the bid is naturally lower, the ask is naturally higher. So if there's a spread, or if there's a small move, you're just locking that in over and over and over again. And that's kind of what the 1% is. Every time we're up 1% or 1.5%, we can lock in, 80% of our shares and pay ourselves interest on every trade that we take, that hits that quick 1%. So then if we view our portfolio in terms of 80% versus 20%, we're just using the 80% to collect consistent interest on the 20% that we use for actual trading. But even though we're risking the whole 100 or exposing the whole 100, if we just lock in that consistent interest payment, then it makes it a lot cleaner. Red Ace, how can a buy bid order go through instantly? I thought instant buying equals buy ask. It depends on the spread and the liquidity. If you're trading something heavily diluted with high turnover, for example, you'll get filled on either one a lot of times. It just depends on what's available. Remember, when you place a buy order or a sell order, it just goes on the order book, unless it's a market order. So any limit order, which is what buy, bid, and ask are, goes on the order book. And then wherever there's a dominant order, let's say an institution places an ask order to buy, let's say they want to buy the ask, it's going to reach across to the bid, grab a sell order of equal size, and they're going to match and fill, and the price will pull up. That's how the price moves. So if you're getting filled on buy bids, that just means that there's ask sells that are ready to be matched. And you just happen to be the aggressive, the kind of dominant order in that case. And it depends. There's a bunch of, you can have your position in the queue to get filled, for example, your broker priority. There's all kinds of factors that go into that stuff. I also just realized I didn't have my comments open on social media. So. And then, of course, you're going to run into the same issues that we have here. That you're just going to have liquidity issues once your portfolio gets big enough. Because your availability at the bid and at the ask is going to be limited. So you're going to have to look for chain fills and things like that. But for now, it seems like it's working for you. Red Ace, on this small account, do you have a fixed number of trades you take per day, or is it until you hit your target? So like today, we hit our 2% on the first trade. That typically would have been it. I have a max of 4 trades. I don't take, too many trades. I was just taking 2 trades. That's how we built up the last account. It was just a very quick set of 2 trades at a time. And then we just decided to change it up a little bit because I was talking to some of the members, and they just want to see more trades, because the 2 trades, it was just quick and I was done, and we just hang out and ramble about psychology and stuff, which is way more important. But it wasn't, there weren't a lot of opportunities for them. But I also don't want anyone copying, so I personally prefer just doing 2 quick trades and showing you guys how I do it. DNC's going to hop off for a while. Good luck today, everyone. Trade smart. Thanks, buddy. Glad you're able to hang out, and hopefully work goes, or I don't know if you're going to work, but hopefully you have a good day. We're just going to watch this AMCI trade flesh out, and then we're out. I'm going to end the stream and the recording. End my trading for the day. I don't like trading a bunch, honestly. And you guys too will get to the point where you have a distaste for risk. You know, you're going to hit your goal, you're just going to walk away for the day. This should just be a little side hustle. I don't log in and look at my savings account every day. I don't stare at it for hours. That doesn't do anything to do that. I don't make it, you know, I don't make it a big part of my life. And no matter how big the numbers get, the chart shouldn't be a big part of your life. This is not a lifestyle, I promise. You're just going to want to get in, get yours, and get out. I guarantee it. Because the more time you spend in the market, the just bigger it becomes and the worse it becomes. So the goal is just to get in, get out. There's just 2 little switches that you flip in your brain. And I will tell you also, that gets a hell of a lot easier once you accept the small, consistent base hits that the market constantly wants to give you, you know, of just a very quick 1.5, maybe 3%. You're going to have big runners in there inevitably. Like, it's going to happen. But if you can at least lock most of your shares at a nice achievable base hit on most of your trades, I don't see a reason why you shouldn't be net profitable overall. As long as the losses aren't super huge and out of control, you should be fine. That's just my opinion, though. And that opinion is strongly rooted in evidence. But I want you to collect your own evidence, collect your own data. If that makes sense to you, then you can consider applying it to your trading. If not, keep doing what you're doing, and we'll help you with the rest. But I'll tell you right now, just logically speaking, your losses are what takes you out of the game. It's not the profits. The profits will be variable in size. The losses should not be variable in size. They should be small and insignificant. Do you buy and sell at market or limit? So when I buy, it's usually market because of the type of trades that I do. And that's just to guarantee a fill, and that should continue beyond my buy. Sometimes I'll use like a buy stop order, which becomes a market order once it's activated, once the price is triggered. But most of the time I just click this little turbo trader button now. And then when I sell, I have 2 hotkeys set up to sell at last, which is a limit order. I sell either 75% of my shares or I sell all of them. So in this case, I've only got 1 share, so it's going to be an all. So I'll just hit Control-3 when I want to sell it. So it kind of depends. And sometimes I place an order, like I might try to get in, like I might set up a limit order here to buy it on a breakout, and then it just keeps going and I miss it, and that's okay. I just cancel it and I just miss the trade, and that's okay. There's always opportunities out there in the market. I guarantee if you add up all the time that a chart spends above 50 RSI, right, you're going to see a number. Let me just draw this at 50. You're going to see a number of 1 to 1.5% profits all throughout the day on every chart. There's something that you can get 1% on. So this chart, the entire day has been above 50 RSI, except for like 850 this morning, which tells me that most of the movement, remember the RSI is a function. To determine a point on the RSI, let me just give you some backstory here. When you're calculating the RSI, you basically just take whatever plot you're trying to make. So in this case, it would be the 1040 candle on a 2-minute chart. You just look back at the previous 14 candles. You stack all the bullish candles on top of each other, and you stack all the bearish candles on top of each other. And then you have a ratio there. And that ratio is determined in a range from 1 to 99. Basically, it's a little bit of a complicated formula. Basically, you just turn it into a ratio. And then that plot becomes the RSI. So if the net bullish moves on average, the true strength, is bigger than the net negative moves, you'll have a RSI above 50. If it's the other way around, the RSI will be below 50. That's all the RSI is. It's not a prediction tool. It is a measurement of the trend strength. And that is based on the collection of price moves, overall net price moves from open to close, not the wicks, unless the candle is currently forming, but the price moves, the true strength of all these. And that's how we use the RSI. So a lot of people like to look for oversold and overbought RSI and trade the extremes and try to catch the bottoms and trade all the pivots and snipe the bottoms and, and all that stuff. You can do that if you want, but I'm just going to use the RSI to say, am I in buy territory, or should I be kind of a little bit hesitant? You know, if I use the RSI at all, I have eyeballs. I can see this is moving up. You don't need any indicators. They're good to have as confirmation to build your confidence up and to help you identify a specific area where you should have done something maybe and you chose not to for whatever reason. Because I'll tell you, most of your trading journey is going to be you resisting just having a conversation with yourself about, okay, this tells me I should push a button and I didn't push a button and I don't know why. Like, that's going to be your biggest challenge in the market. And I can help you understand why. It's just neuroscience, but you have to hold yourself accountable without the blame. Because once you put all the blame in the mix, it just gets stressful and you get, you know, frustrated and all that stuff. And it just, the cycle compounds itself. And that's why I encourage everyone, just practice. You don't have to use all your dollars on all the real trades. Just practice, you know, collect the data and then figure out what the data is telling you. And then once you do that, you'll be able to actually focus on making specific progress steps and not just, oh, my trading will improve whenever I do this instead of this. You know? That's not how it works. So is anybody here red for the day? Did you guys trade stuff? If you are red, put a 2 in the chat. If you're green for the day, put a 1 in the chat. And if you didn't trade at all today, put a 3 in the chat. So green 1, red 2, no trades 3. Just curious. All right, so we got a good mix there. All right, for everyone that answered 2, did you follow your trading plan? Like 100% with confidence? Or did you have a deviation? Charlie and Paul said yes, yes. So you guys had successful days, you just didn't have profitable days. Meaning you followed your trading plan to a T. You felt no temptations beyond, you know, anything you could control. You didn't have any emotions about stuff. Everything went pretty smooth. It just happens to be, you know, the market just happened to work against you, and that's okay. Followed in green. I broke my BS today. Oh no, Charlie. I don't know. What does that mean? Lee watch list, stop loss kicked in. Oh, okay. So you had a nice, you had defined risk. Okay, deviation is my nemesis. Okay, well, what happened, Fergie? What form did your deviation take today? Did you overtrade? Did you move a stop loss? Did you overallocate? Did you hit one button when you meant to hit the other button? Charlie keeps slipping into some quicksand and then being like, what did I do? Well, yeah, that's all part of it. The market wants us to participate. Silver, and I stopped at a break even, but Webull is showing it as a loss since it was up yesterday. Oh. Oh, I got you. Okay. All right. So the position P&L for the day. Charlie says, I pulled up my boots and stayed square today. Good stuff. Fergie, so many things. All right. Fergie, do you feel like you're in control as far as your position allocations and the number of buys you take and the size of your buys and the way that you execute? Or do you feel like there's just a lot of moving parts all of a sudden? There's no wrong answers here. I'm just curious. Fast to be green, but my emotions took over when my trade went red. Sold it as soon as it turned green just to watch the trade go further green where I thought it would go. And that is always a kick in the pants, right? Once you watch something kind of push you out of the trade and maybe you take a loss or a smaller profit than you expected, and then it just goes where it was supposed to go anyway. Now, let me ask you a question. After you got out and you watched it go farther, right, to get that validation, what kept you looking at that chart? Fergus says, I start out that way, and when things go red, emotions take over, and I do stupid stuff. Well, it's not stupid, right? It's part of your brain, and that's okay. Everybody has the same brain at the end of the day. We're just reactive processors, so you just got to study it. We're just got to troubleshoot it a little bit. So when things go red, the emotions take over. That is the gateway that we need to close, right? So let's focus on what kinds of thoughts and things we experience when things turn red. Is it just because we see a small red number? Or is it the fact that, oh, here we go again, right? Things are starting to go against us. Or does the red number just get really big really fast? Like, is it the size of the position? Here we go again. Okay, that's a traumatic response. That just means that you've taken a lot of big losses and you don't want that to happen again. So we instantly slam the brakes and we start skidding. And that's when we fly off the road and things get so much worse than if we just gradually applied the brakes. Right? And when you're driving, specifically on like a motorcycle or in bad weather, you always want to have a crash place, right? You always want to have a plan in case something goes wrong, and that's where we have defined risk. So do me a favor. I would spend a couple days just on a paper account, blindly enter something that's moving fast, then practice being wrong. Like practice making the loss super small, practice getting out as quickly as you want, and then see if that same set of emotions happens. It might be smaller, it might be less impactful, but they should still be there if that's the case. And that'll help us troubleshoot, because then we can tell exactly what's going on. So just spend a couple days, just kick over to a paper account, just actually push the buttons as if you would be trading for real. And then if you experience those same thoughts, same emotions, that's good data, right? And that'll help me understand if it's because I'm assuming that's going to be a visual cortex hippocampus issue, and that's just tagging your amygdala, and it's been like, hey buddy, remember this? And then the amygdala's like, oh hell yeah, I'm mad. Right? Let's fight about it. We see the color red, so we just got to reprogram that. So practice being wrong. See if you can execute without the emotions, or if the emotions are just always there. All right. What's your position on this? I'm just grabbing one trade here, looking for a break through the blue box on this one. It's my last trade for the day. I've been trading for about an hour and 12 minutes-ish, 17 minutes. Kenny Penny, I went up 3%, was out with 75% still settled, got back like an idiot, negative 1%. That is not idiot behavior, sir. That is human being behavior. So if you're up 3%, what was your daily goal? Or do you mean that your one trade was up 3%? Is that your overall, or is that just one trade? Fasuvi, you're in that trade. You're looking at the chart after you stopped out for a small profit to see if I was right, like a validation to hopefully build my confidence. I would have felt better if it went the other way, as if I didn't sell, it would have been a big red trade. Okay, so that's okay, right? Because what you're doing there, that's a employee versus CEO problem, right? And I call it a problem only because it's a very easy thing to fix. we like to fix problems. We don't like to have problems. And having problems doesn't mean that you are the problem. Okay. So there's two parts to any trade, and that is the employee role that I like to call it. So imagine that you're trading as a company. You have your own little one-man firm, but you can clone yourself. So one of you becomes an employee, and the other one becomes the CEO, the owner. Your employee's job is to go out, do the research, field the clients, get the clients to sit down with dinner, have a meeting with them, and then tag out, basically. And then it's the CEO's job, the owner's job, to come in, take the client away from the employee, send the employee home because they don't want them tampering with the client anymore. And then the CEO is going to close that deal, secure the money, and everyone will be happy. But what happens is we don't delineate those two a lot of times, and the employee keeps trying to work. They keep trying to harass the client, and that just ruins the deal, right? So in trading, once you start getting in, when you're in a trade, we have a responsibility to send that employee home so that we don't keep trying to monitor it, keep trying to analyze it, keep trying to find reasons to do stuff, because that's what our brain wants to do. We have uncertainty. We want the uncertainty resolved because it's stressful for our brain. So we rely on impulse to do that, which means we need to keep the dopamine flowing, which means we need to keep the anticipation flowing, which means we need to keep monitoring it. We want to see where it's going to go. We want to see if we're going to be right. We want to see if we're going to be wrong. You know, so we try to keep the dopamine flowing, and it's just a dopamine addiction. So the sooner we can just cut off that visual stimulus and just accept that the trade is over and that specific chart is exactly the same now, priority-wise, as every other chart in the market that we don't see and don't care about, that will help dissipate a lot of that need to be right, if that makes sense. Like your goal is to just get in and get out. It's not to get in, have the price go up, and then get out. That's the ideal outcome. But your goal is just to get in and get out. Does that make sense? Like if it happens to go up, that's great. But you can't force that. So thanks, Pookie, after run. Well, I'm glad you could hang out, buddy. I actually have to end this here pretty soon as well. But I want to make sure that we have some time to hang out and chat. So I'm glad you were able to hang out. If I do have to cut this one and it's still open, I'll just update you guys in the chat. But I'll let it play out as much as I can before I got to jump off. I will probably end the live stream recording right now, though. So thanks for everyone who is hanging out with me there. Make sure that you guys jump in. I'm going to put a link on social media here on Twitch, Kick, YouTube, X, and all that. Make sure you guys jump in that Discord. It's free to join. And I do these streams every Tuesday. Lee does his on Thursdays. We have a bunch of other free streams, but I'm going to end this. So I'll see you guys in there. And I'm going to hang up my Discord people.